Similarly, for cost audit also, they have to report companies manufacturing specified product. They have to submit the data related to cost in a specified manner. Then there are certain contracts which are based on cost. So rates are prepared on the basis of what actual cost has been incurred. Then there may be, in the case of insurance claim, the loss can be measured or estimated on the basis of previous cost allocation. Sometimes it is required by regulator, as I have mentioned in the cost audit of the company. In the litigation of payment of compensation or any other loss, the cost allocation becomes important part. So joint products we have earlier also studied. We will differentiate it with the scrap, waste and effective. Scrap is the difference between input and output, which is sellable in the market at a very low price, and scrap is easily convertible into raw material, while defective is a product of not a standard mark. It is less than the required standard, but it could be converted into good product by expending something more, or it could be sold at a lesser price. Waste is the net difference between input and output, so that incur into the loss. Waste is generally for 3-4 reasons. One reason is some difference between input and output arise which is not visible. In chemical industry, you can witness that if 1000 liter petrol is stored in a tank, then due to evaporation the product may be lost 2%, 5%. So this is not visible at all. In the second stage, certain loss are visible, but it is not collectible, and until and unless you can collect it, it cannot be used or sold. The third difference is visible, collectible, but not usable and marketable. So this difference is waste. So how scrap, waste and defective is accounted depends upon the policy of the management. We will only look at the new definition that you have not so far referred. Cost object is the unit of production for which we are measuring cost. It may be unit of production, machine, process or an employee. Cost driver is the factor which influence the cost. So in a college, the visiting faculty expenses are depending upon number of lecture offered to the visiting faculty. So number of lecture in case of visiting faculty is a cost driver, but for the regular faculty, number of lecture is not a cost driver. So cost driver influence and increase the cost. Backflush costing is the costing where certain costing items are missed out from the journal entry. The reason is certain cost only we can know once we receive electricity bill. Certain cost is very minor in nature, and therefore in ascertaining cost we incur higher expenses. So we ignore it and we take the standard measures. This is one example that in the last slide you have seen. There is a process. Process 1, input is 12,000, output is 8,000. You are quite aware of the figure. Now, if you want output of 100 unit, additional information is given. If raw material required per unit is 100 gram and cost of raw material is 10 rupees per kg, find out the cost of 1 unit output. So your purpose is to ascertain cost of 1 unit output. These three processes are independent to each other. Devendra, you are right. You need 198 unit to introduce. Shikhar, you are right. The cost is correct. The question is, what shall be the cost of unit of output? Ashwini, you are right. Amit, you are right. Kapil, I will explain the question again. Process 1, if you introduce 12,000 unit, output is 8,000 unit. Process 2 is totally different. If you introduce 13,200, you get 12,000. In process 3, if you introduce 9600, output is 8,000. So to get in the process 3 100 unit, how much unit you have to introduce in process 1, number 1, and number 2, what will be the cost for 100 unit? Nivedita, you are right. Anupam, you are right. Bharat Kumar, you are right that process 1, 198 unit is required. But what is the cost of 198 unit to introduce? So number of unit you have determined correctly. Now this is the number of unit required, but what will be the cost? Anyway, take this as an exercise. Final product is one that is ready for sale without further processing. Intermediate product is the product that might require further processing before it is sellable to the consumer. Joint costs are costs to operate joint processes, including the disposal of waste. So here we have appreciated that in disposal of waste also the cost is incurred. MNC Limited produced two products, cement and tiles. Production per hour was estimated to be 10 metric ton and 1000 brass respectively. On 1st January 2005, the production was 160 metric ton and 12,000 brass respectively. Express the production in standard hours. So here our purpose is to measure production in standard hours.